This podcast may contain views and opinions which are those of the hosts and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of any local agency, organization, union, employee, or company, including the podcast.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. Official episode number 2 of Off the Clock Shop Talk with myself, George, and our comedic relief, Savas Porras, is back again.
Say that 3 times, John, fast.
I can't say it 3 times. Anyways, so just to get into it, let's jump right into the first segment. We're going to talk about the election. Oh, no, scary, right? No, it's not. We have an election every 3 years for our local, meaning who's going to run our local and who's going to, it's the executive board. It's honestly, to be honest, it's not so much my position as a local. Obviously, we have the disclaimer in the beginning. I am not operating in that capacity, nor is George as a shop steward, or Savas as another business agent. We are not operating in that capacity. But my position at the local is not so much a voted on one, but it does usually change with a changing of guard, right? Yeah. If a new administration comes in, which are the guys that run, which would be, and I don't know how many of you know this, but the hierarchy, right? Let's talk about that real quick. The hierarchy in the local is your secretary treasurer. He's on top. That is Eric Jimenez. He's the guy who was voted in 3 years ago, the guy that's, steering the ship right now. Under him is John Green, who is the president of the local. Below him is Danny Herbert, who is the vice president. And then you have your e-board. So right under Danny Herbert as vice president is recording secretary and 3 trustees. So that's the hierarchy of our local. Just so you guys know, that's who you guys are voting on. Obviously, I'm wearing a Members First shirt. We will get into, some politics. I'm not going to be super heavy, and I don't, I've never been the one to talk shit. Let's put that out there. I don't need to talk shit. I'd rather my actions and the actions of the administration that's currently there speak for itself.
I think this is a world in a day and age where people get on the internet and say things, and my whole thing is come to the meeting and get on the mic. I mean, we're one of the few locals that allow you to get up on an open mic and express your concerns and say the things that you need to say. Unfortunately, we're in a day and age where a lot of people get on the internet, say things, and honestly, I believe prey on the membership that really don't know what's going on. And they say things, and it's unfortunate that a lot of people listen to these things and don't come into the hall or ask questions or ask myself or John or Eric or John Green or Danny Herbert. And that's how I feel about that.
Basically, those are the people you're voting on, and that's what it is. The local election every 3 years, that's what we're going through right now. I will tell everybody to, number one, I'm going to say, look, I want you to vote for me and for what we're doing, and not me in general, but Members First. I would say that, right? But at the end of the day, I want you to vote. Even if you're voting for the other guys, because, look, the company pays attention to this stuff. They know the vote counts. They get it. Believe it or not, they pay attention quite a bit. They know how many people voted. They know how many people vote for, say, if we were voting for a strike count or vote in the national election, in the local election. They pay attention to this because at the end of the day, this determines how many people are going to vote, how many people are going to actually stand strong if we strike, all that sort of stuff.
No, 100%. You need to vote. You need to be a part of the union and just back it up. I mean, if you do not vote, your voice is not going to be heard. The company's going to see that, and then they're going to make adjustments accordingly. So they're kind of relying on us to not stand next to each other, right. So that way they can implement all the rules. Just take the time, vote for whoever you want to vote for. Just vote. You need to vote just in general.
For myself, I don't know if some people follow me on Facebook, some people don't. I put out a little video on why I support Eric Jimenez and why I support Members First and all that stuff. And some of those things I like to go over, and I don't, like I said before, I don't really take the position where I'm talking shit on people. I'd rather my actions, our actions, the administration's actions speak for themselves. And I do think Eric Jimenez is steering the boat in the right direction. That's just me. You might not feel the same. But I'll tell you why I feel that way. 20 years went by and I didn't see a lot of action. I didn't see too much, movement. And as we have progressed, you see myself in there. If you're in the Laguna building, the stuff we're doing. We're getting people involved. We're trying to change a culture. That's what we're doing. A culture that was kind of, what's the right word? Apathetic for a long time.
Yeah, it was almost non-existent.
Right. It seemed like that to me. But anyways, so we're trying to get people involved, trying to get, the ship steered in the right direction. I know there's been a lot of talk on, who should be in charge, especially because we're in this election. Vote on what's going on, what went on in the past, what's going on now. If you see, the stuff that we're doing within the Laguna building, which is coming to the Anaheim building, I want you Anaheim guys to know it is coming. We plan to change things for all of 952. That is the plan. So, we'll kind of transition from the political portion into what we're doing to change the culture. Because I think in the broader spectrum of things, that's what we're doing. Right?
That's definitely what we need. The culture needs to change, and people, the members need to be more up to date and also active in with the union.
I agree. And I just want to add, where's our comic relief? What the fuck, are you sleeping over there? What is going on?
No, I'm just listening to you guys.
I think he nodded off.
So, I kind of just want to touch back, and I'm not going to get too long-winded in this, but I just kind of want to tell you guys why I've supported Eric Jimenez over the years. As a lot of you know or may not know, Eric took the position over 9 years ago to run against the old administration. He lost the first 2 times, but he continued to fight. And I don't know too many people that could really honestly do that after losing twice and then come back and the third time be in the position where he's at. He's a fighter. He stands by what he believes in, and I will continue to support Eric because of that. And I do feel, John, that he has steered the ship in the direction that we want to go. With that, to me, that's the type of person that you want in leadership, is somebody that's always going to continue to fight. We get knocked down on a daily basis, and it's up to us, to get up and stand up and continue to go. So I just wanted to touch base on that a little bit.
That wasn't funny.
It wasn't.
I said comic relief.
I don't know how I became the comedian in this podcast, but okay.
Anyways, like I said, just talking about changing culture. We'll switch gears a little bit. Just changing the culture. I know myself, if you guys have been around the Laguna building, I hope you guys are excited, that we're all getting together doing these Teamster Tuesdays. I do those things for a couple reasons, right? Number one is to keep you guys informed. And I think as a member, before even this, I didn't feel like anyone honestly wanted to inform me about what was going on. I think the general consensus of everybody was just like, hey, we'll keep kind of everybody in the dark. And whether they did that on purpose or not, I don't know. I'm not gonna go there. I'm just gonna say that, look, I don't want to keep everybody in the dark. I want to let people know about what happens at panels. And I know me saying that, some of you might not even know what a panel is. A UPS panel is like UPS court. You file one of these, a grievance, right? It gets heard at a center level with your shop steward. If they can't figure it out, it goes to myself and a labor manager, which would be the local level hearing. And then from there, if we still can't come to an agreement, or they still don't want to pay you, or whatever, the case is, then we go to a panel. a panel system. The first panel would be JOM, which is the Southwest panel for us. And it would consist of 3 union members and 3 company people, right? And you put on a case, the company puts on a case, and it gets deliberated on. If it gets figured out, it gets settled. If not, then they go ahead and go to it gets deadlocked and goes to the higher level. So it goes to JOM, the West, the National, and then if need be, it would go to an arbitration, right? An arbitrator is obviously a retired judge usually, possibly a lawyer, but they kind of go over, legal gets involved, the company's legal team, the union's legal team, and we kind of hash things out in that respect. But that's the panel system, right?
And with that panel system, depending on what type of case that is, it can be an interpretive case or, a disciplinary case. Not everything will go to arbitration.
Correct. We could get it would only go to arbitration if it gets deadlocked, right? And it would depend what language we're referring to. Say if it's just like Southwest package writer language, it would deadlock at JOM and go straight to arbitration because it's not West language. If it's in the West language, it would deadlock and then go to arbitration from there. If it's national language, which is in the national master, then it would go all the way to national. If it would deadlock, then it would go to arbitration.
And these are things that, honestly, John, that I didn't even know. And I was a steward prior,
Neither.
For the old administration. And these are things that I know we need to educate the membership on. They need to understand the panel system. The best way I explain it to people is like going to court. You go in and you file that grievance, and like John said, if it doesn't get settled at that lower level, it's like going to court. You have a preliminary hearing, right?
You said that right.
Yeah, I said that right. Okay, and then after that, there's steps, right? And is it time consuming? It is. Unfortunately, we're in a day and age where everybody wants instant results. Okay?
Yeah, very true.
And in this panel system, there's not instant results. And mind you, we have 4 part-time sorts in both buildings, and then we have the package side in both buildings, and then we have the theater department in both buildings. So just to give you an idea, what I've seen under this new administration is a lot more people feel confident in even filing grievance, and so therefore, there's a lot more grievances to be processed. And with that, that takes time. I think John and I and even the administration feel like if we could snap our fingers and get it done and resolved it, quickly, that would be, ideal. But unfortunately, in the panel system and the way things go, it's just not that way. It's time consuming.
And just, again, not funny. But just in that respect, right? And you guys, this is something that you guys might not hear or see, but in the West, under the leadership of Mark Davison, who is the chair for UPS in the West, he's taken the position where, in negotiations, he thinks the panel system does need to be rehauled, right? With the amount of grievances that are coming in, everything, there needs to be, something needs to change. Whether, I know he's thrown out some ideas, of a sitting arbiter within the panel system. I know that might go over a lot of your heads, but it's something that we're discussing. We understand that there's a lot of grievances and that they kind of get held up and, bogged down in this system, like Sabas was saying. At the same point, we want to make sure that we're transparent, that we let you guys know what's going on. If you guys have questions about your grievances, ask. Don't go on the internet and type a bunch of fucking bullshit. Ask.
Yeah. Really quick. What is the longest case that something has been held up in panel?
So it's not necessarily held up in panel. Okay. So
why don't you break down what JOM is? It's once a month.
So JOM is once a month. JOM is the Southwest panel, right? So, but even going before JOM, right? you file a grievance. Let's just go through. Let's
do it now.
The fucking grievance.
Let's do it right now.
Okay. So look, you file a grievance. Okay. Let's talk about where that grievance goes. It goes to your shop steward. I get a copy. I would get a copy as a business agent. And then it needs to be sat on at a center level meeting, right? So your shop steward might have 200 grievances that he has to sit on at a center level meeting. He is supposed to have a meeting every week with the center manager. Does that take place? Not all the time. I'll be honest with you. I was a shop steward, and any shop steward will tell you shit changes sometimes. So does it happen all the time? No. If it gets egregious where they're not sitting down with you, then you file, another grievance saying that they're not following the grievance procedure. That being said, his job is to sit on those at a center level. If he can resolve them, great. If he can't, then he kicks them up and it goes to the local level, which would come to myself or Sawas as a business agent. And from there, we would just sit down with a labor manager, whoever that would be, and the center manager and the steward, and we all kind of get together and see if we can resolve it there, whether it be a pay issue, whether it be a harassment issue, something's going on, and we try to settle them there. Now, the majority of things will get settled there, and that being said, like, you got to understand, these guys are trying to request meetings for, once a week for their center level meetings. Now, me as a business agent, I request pretty much at the beginning of every month, hey, I need a meeting for every center. And not to throw my problems out there, right? But the last 2 months, I've requested a meeting for every center at the beginning of the month and gotten one meeting for one center the past 2 months, which in my opinion is bullshit. But that's the case. And can I go and punch my labor manager and say, you have to meet me at this time? You have to do it. No. Now I can file grievances and say that they're not following the grievance procedure, that they're not doing this, that they're not doing that. At the end of the day, that's the way the procedure goes. And then from there, panel. And then we go through all the stuff that we were just talking about. Southwest, we sit on those. Those happen once a month. For us, it's the third week of every month, right? So that would be when JOM happens. Then if it gets deadlocked there and it needs to go to the West happens 4 times a year.
I believe it's every 3 months. Correct?
Every 3 months, yeah.
So 4 times a year.
4 times a year, every quarter. The last week of that month, whenever it would be held, and national 3 times a year, right? So those are the way the panel system goes. So if you guys get stuck in a grievance and it's not being heard, you have to understand the process. Figure out where your grievance is within the process. That way that way we're clear. And I'll be 100% honest with you. There's some centers, within my building, right? If we're talking about the Laguna building, there's some centers that require less work that, it might dictate whether we sit on your grievance sooner or later, right? If I'm requesting meetings and I only get 1 meeting a month or even 2, and I have a center with 150 open, unsettled grievances, and I have one with 3, and you're one of the 3, they kind of want to work on these 150. And now, is that fair all the time? No, I'll be 100% honest with you. And that's one of the things that I think needs to be revamped. But at the same time, I'll tell you that this is the process right now.
Also, with that, we have brothers and sisters that are put on the street. And when they're put on the street, due to a termination, they're going to take priority. They're going to go in front of the grievance procedure, and we're going to try to get that brother or sister their job back. And that's just the truth. They take priority, whereas you might be looking at an interpretive case. And I think anybody, if they were in those shoes, could understand that. If you're out on the street, you want to make sure that your grievance is heard in a timely manner, because we don't want our brothers and sisters on the street longer than they need to be.
100%. Anyway,
maybe next week.
So grievance procedure. Back to changing culture. I don't know if you want to move this around or whatever, but just the things we're doing. I think we said all that to say, look, we want to be transparent as anybody has ever been within a union, right? I mean, I know that there has been quite a lot of complaints, even within our building. I think you know who you are, about transparency. And we are trying to be as transparent as possible, which I know wasn't taking place in the past. So that's one of the things we're doing with Teamster Tuesdays. You know, if you don't know what Teamster Tuesday is, please look at your union board. I'm going to be there every Tuesday at 8:30 in between Coast and Costa Mesa Center in the Laguna building. I'm going to be there every Tuesday at 8:30. And we might push it to 8:40. We're working on times. But that being said, get involved. The company pays attention. If you guys have been there, you guys see there's managers that walk by. Some of them will pop in and listen to what I'm saying. You know, I think those things are huge. You know,
well, they need to see that we're standing strong. And
yeah,
we're
100%. Yeah. You know, I think you want to stay informed. You want to stay vigilant. You want to be ready. We all want to show a united front. Whether, I know we talked a little bit off camera, but I know there's different factions and whatnot and within the union. But at the end of the day, we're all a union.
We're all Teamsters.
We don't want to be divided and split up. And, you know, regardless of what we believe, maybe politically or the direction, at the end of the day, whoever gets in office is in office, and we need to support that person because we succeed as a team.
100%, yeah.
I concur.
Still, fuck, man, you are not being funny today. I need you to be funny.
No, so
I need you to be
so like
I'm not funny. So I need you to be funny.
You know, with that said, honestly, it's the truth. There is you know, splinters within our own Teamsters brothers and sisters. You know, whether it's in Anaheim or Laguna, and you know, right now we need to put that aside. Honestly, I don't really give two shits if you like me or not. I don't. But when it comes to I don't think John likes it. But when it comes to our contract that's coming up, you know, when we have these Teamster Tuesdays, you know, John started off in Laguna. I followed suit with the part-timers. It's important for you to be there to show the company that we're standing together for this contract that's coming up. You know, I'm not asking you guys to hold my hand and say that you like me. I'm asking you to be there so that we can show the company that when it comes to our contract that we care. And I'm going to say this, you know, changing the culture that has been 20 plus years like this is a task that is going to take maybe 20 years to turn around. Things don't get fixed overnight is what I'm saying.
Yeah, Rome wasn't built in a day.
Exactly. So, like I said, you know, we want to be transparent. We want you guys to know that we care. You know, we go in there. A lot of people don't understand what is at stake here in this next contract. They really don't.
Yeah. And I know we touched on it in official episode 1. But you know, we're really the only people that are the only people that are really pulling in the other direction from Amazons and the FedExes and those
jobs.
The gig jobs, right?
Yeah.
The Ubers and, you know, DoorDash, Roadie,
Yeah.
and all these people, right? So we're the only ones pulling in the other direction, and everyone's looking at us. And I really do believe that corporate America, that the other unions, everyone is looking at us. Amazon, everybody. They're just all eyes on UPS and the Teamsters and what is going to come out of this contract. And reason being is it's going to set the standard.
It's 350,000 plus Teamsters, brothers and sisters, and United Parcel Service and UPS. 67% of that, John, is part-time.
Please vote.
You guys need to speak up. You guys
Get
have
involved.
a voice. You know, 67% of that. Can you imagine if the part-time and that percentage would vote, it would be a huge impact. And I think that's been lacking for a very, very long time. And our local, Eric opened up this position. I've been very humbled to be in this position.
As the business agent for the part-time.
As a business agent for the part-time. Because it was non-existent before. And I remember being a part-timer in Anaheim and not knowing what a union meant, not knowing that there was, a panel system, a delegate election, a local election every 3 years. I didn't know none of that. I didn't even understand why I was paying union dues. I didn't know. There was no education on that. And I think slowly but surely we have turned that around, and I'm going to commit to continue to turn that around with the part-time.
Yeah, I'm actually very happy that they established that business agent position specifically for the part-time, because I was in that same boat, or as a part-timer, when I felt like I didn't know anything about the union. No one ever taught anything, and until I actually had like a real scenario come up, and then the one steward for the building, I don't know if you guys remember Sonny.
Oh yeah, I know.
Came out of the woodwork, and like he saved my job.
It's like Sonny and Bill.
Yeah.
And they were, they're longtime Teamsters, and I think they did what they could do. Looking back on it, though, I just think the lack of having higher up than Sonny and Bill at the at the executive board, and the secretary, treasurer, and the president maybe not having that backing. I just think they were just part-timers were not paid attention to.
Look, at the end of the day, for me, what Savas is saying is that really it's all about who steers the ship. And that's why I have gotten behind Eric so much, and whether it's just new blood and getting excited, or complacency from the old administration, whatever it was, the direction was kind of uninformative. Keep, whatever. At the end of the day, I think, like you said, Bill and Sonny, they kind of did what they did, and I appreciated them for that.
I agree. I'm not talking shit.
It comes down to who steers the ship, right? And I tell, so in my building, I'll take the position and I'll tell you guys, look, in my building, I've told the stewards, look, I steer the ship for this building. Okay, so I get to dictate, what way we're going as far as changing culture, as far as the meetings, as far as the camaraderie all these things that I'm trying to build, right? And at an upper level, if I don't have the support from the administration, from, what Savas was saying, the administrative level, being Eric, John Green, Danny Herbert, if I don't have their support, it's hard for me to do things. And the same with, a shop steward level, where it's hard for the shop steward to do things if he doesn't have the support of the business agent,
Right.
and in reverse order as well, just so you know, if I don't have the support of my shop stewards, my eyes and ears, or the support from the members, what I do and the way I steer the ship doesn't mean shit.
Doesn't mean anything.
Right? I think you guys need to understand that we are all
in
part
this
of the
together.
union. Yeah.
All in this together.
We're all Teamsters. You're not being funny today. You are not being funny today.
I got stuck in traffic on the.
He's all sour because
I came up here.
He's all bitter.
Freeway, I got stuck in traffic.
I do appreciate the fact that position was established, so now the part-timers have a voice. They feel like they have a voice.
And going back to that, it's a huge thing in our local. I'm very, very humbled by being able to do this. And I think that if we can continue, what people need to understand, all you drivers out there that are full-time, you were all part-timers at one time. And I need all of you guys to go back to the preload and go back to the twilight and tell these guys, you need to get involved. You need to vote. Like I said, we're not going to tell you who to vote for, but you need to turn in that ballot. We need to show numbers and strength, especially with this this contract coming up next year. The company is paying attention. You're absolutely right, John. They're paying attention. And if we don't educate these young guys now, they're the future. And with this contract coming up, if we don't educate them now, in my opinion, they'll be the first ones to cross. Because UPS will offer them $30 an hour.
Yep.
To come in and do the work. And they don't understand what it is to stand by as a union member, a union brother or sister.
I think big part of what they don't understand is the longevity of things.
Correct. This is a career.
Yeah.
This is not a job. If you're here to make a job out of it, you're in the wrong business because you're not making shit, especially coming in as a part-timer. We all went through it. Mm-hmm. We all went through it. When we started, it was $8.50 an hour. I worked 2 jobs.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, I did
all of
for
us sitting
10
here
years.
worked 2 jobs. But we knew the longevity of it, and when we came in, they said, it's going to take 10 years for you to go driving. It's going to take 20 years to go to feeder.
Yeah.
Okay. What's happening now? You're going
You can
driving
go driving in 2
years and 2 years in feeder.
feeder. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a different work climate. It's a different thing now. And if we don't educate these guys and understand that this is a career, this is not a job, and they want to make that fast money, they will be the first ones to cross that line. I'm telling you.
And then they're going to lose all their benefits.
And they're going to lose all their benefits. Why?
They'll give them away.
Yep.
All of them are on their mommy and daddy's insurance. I'm sorry to say. It's the truth.
Well, a part of it all goes back to changing the culture. And to change a culture, you really need to get, what we would consider the youth of the culture, right? Your part-timers. When they first come in, we got to get them involved and let them know what's at stake and what they're voting on, and to really pay attention, right? And then from there we move on and go to the first level drivers, the cover drivers, the 224s, those guys coming in and understand what they are, what their rights are, all that stuff. And we keep moving forward and we just change the culture. So by the time these part-timers get to driving or get to feeder, they are involved. They understand what's at stake with their contracts. They understand what they're getting in the end. I think half of the people don't understand that, like, we are one of the last companies that are the last unions that have a pension. Do you understand that? Like, that is.
And we're right at almost, we're like almost 100% fully funded in this pension. This is unheard of.
Yeah.
The part-timers get $9.50. I don't have the exact number. We're right there.
An hour
into
so
their pension.
Those are money that you really don't see on the back end. At the end of the day, yes, you might be making so much. And I will say this right now. Are you making enough? No. Okay, so that's one of the things that Sean O'Brien has talked about on the international level, right, is getting the part-timers more money, for sure. But keeping the benefits. Keeping the benefits.
That's what you
keeping
want.
Stuff where we're at. And even moving forward in those departments and getting you guys some more money.
And Sean made a good.
It's important.
Sean said this is a strike point for us, right?
Yeah.
We will not allow the company to withdraw from the pension. Okay.
And the wages for part-timers.
Right.
Those are going up for sure. It's a strike position.
Yeah. And going back to what I said, no disrespect to people that are living with their mommy and daddy. I wish I could, because I'd be saving a lot of money.
Can't knock on that, right?
I can't knock on it, right? Yeah. And you guys, take advantage of that. Build your career. If you're staying at home and you're still under your parents' health care, that's great. But you're going to have your own stuff, your health care, your pension,
401k,
your 401k, all that stuff. This is something that, honestly, I didn't even know about coming in. Nobody educated us on that. I didn't even start my 401k till I was.
I started
30.
mine way too late.
Yeah, I started
Yeah.
mine when I was 30.
Back to. All right, so just to round it out, changing the culture within 952 is kind of like our goal. I know myself with Sawas and the stewards, we're all on the same page. We want to see a more informed, stronger, more active local 952. That's what we want out of it. I don't know what your guys' take on it is.
Well, I agree with you. I think that it's been lacking for a very long time. Like going back to what I said, the part-timers are 67% of the workforce, and we have not had a voice for a long time. And I want to dare all of you to count how many times I say on this podcast, and I will take you to lunch if you can count them all. With that said, changing the culture is
For me.
imperative. It is a mandatory thing that needs to go on. And I'm going to do everything I can in my power to continue to do that with the help of John, with the help of this administration, with the stewards. We have done.
Two more.
Did you count those? We have really been, in my opinion, very active in our buildings. I think
We're gonna keep.
And that's
going in that
that's
direction.
also the thing is a lot of the here's the thing since I've been a driver for like 10 years now, and the one thing that all the drivers always notice is like, oh, during election time all the business agents show up, and then they complain that no one's there year round.
Correct.
They only show up when it's like election time. But you guys have always been, since you guys have been the business agents, active the whole time. So
proactive.
they're proactive the whole time. And I for one, totally on board with that. And I really hope that it stays this way, just so that way the drivers see that, hey, we're an active like community, an active local and like for 952. And so that way they start to pick up on it, and they pick up on that trend, and they become active with the union.
Well, I'm not gonna lie. For me, that gets me right here because I care. I care about my job, and I told Sawas, and I mean I've expressed it to a couple people. Like at the end of the day, I want to be the best business agent I can be. Period. Get my members involved, get them informed. Myself putting in the time, the effort, and I know Sawas can attest, and I can attest for him. Look, we're out there all the time. I know you guys don't see our jobs, and it's crazy because we're salary. But that being said, look,
overtime. I wish
OT,
we had.
You guys put in a
some
lot of
hours,
time,
dude. We're there.
You guys put in some time.
Safety meetings at midnight, at twilight stuff. And,
Well, let's touch a little bit on that. I don't think a lot of our membership even knew. I didn't even know that coming into this administration that the union runs safety. I didn't even know that. And that's something that John has spearheaded, him coming into a business agent role and us going into the safety meetings and letting the company know that we run this shit, not them. You're not going to put anybody there that you want there, okay? We try to place stewards there, right? And that's a huge thing. That's something different that didn't happen before. I didn't even know.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
I didn't know that.
And just so you guys understand, like me before, when I was just a member, I was actually part of the safety committee for 7 years, and it was important to me. Those kind of things were important. And when, believe it or not, I'll give him some credit. When Bruno came in, he kind of said, look, this is our safety committee per the contract.
Yes, he did.
And opened my eyes, and I took the ball and ran with it. I'm like, yeah, this is our safety committee. And reason being is because at the end of the day, the company has to answer to, let's say at the top level, to investors, below that to managers, to presidents and stuff. They all have somebody to answer to for their numbers, for their
Shareholders and
production,
whatnot.
for all that stuff, right? And really, if you get down to brass tacks, we're, as a union, the ones that are supposed to look out for the members, period.
And that's the thing is that that safety stuff, I'll be honest, as a driver, I drove out of the Stadium Center I thought safety was bullshit. Why? Because I thought the company controlled it.
Yeah.
I did not know. And going back to when Bruno came in, Bruno was like, "Hey, this is our safety shit. This is ours."
Yeah.
And for us, I was like, I didn't even know that. George, I mean, did you know that? I mean,
I did not. And I always thought the company ran it, and it makes sense that the union runs it. I mean,
contractually,
I got asked to be put into safety, which I accepted because I take my job very seriously. I try and work as safe as possible, you know. So I was like, if I can make an effect and maybe, you know, get some of these drivers to drive more safely, more cautiously, like why not? But I didn't realize that it was like you know, up to the union to decide who goes there.
right.
And reason being, I'll tell you, being on the safety committee for so long, like I got to see, look, the company wants to put their people there because, and these are our members at the end of the day.
They want to micromanage.
They want to, number one, micromanage. They want yes men that are just going to kind of say and do what they want them to do, right? So when a business agent kind of takes the role like I have and Savas has, when they kind of take the role of, hey, I'm the leader of the safety committee and I get to dictate who is on or who is removed from the safety committee, in all honesty. And then, you know, per the contract, the safety committee can vote on the co-chair. But, you know, that being said, like when you take that position, number one, it's a lot more work, right? So I can see why some wouldn't want to do that. But number two, like it's important for the members to understand that the safety committee is there for us,
Right.
for our benefit, for our, you know, as a safety committee member, I have actually, believe it or not, stopped a truck from leaving the warehouse because the driver didn't feel safe. The manager wanted to go. And at the end of the day, I said, no, absolutely not. It's not going anywhere because it's not safe to drive, period. And he had nothing to say. You know, when all was said and done, the truck was fixed. Actually, they loaded everything into another truck because I wouldn't allow it to leave. And he couldn't get upset.
And to any of the stewards that might be listening to this podcast, this is why it's important. We need the stewards on the safety committee. Is it more work? Yes, absolutely. You as stewards do a lot already. I get that. But to be on the safety committee, it gives us more power to dictate to the company that we're not going to put up with safety issues that don't go unaddressed. Any of your stewards out there, take into consideration to get involved and be on the safety committee. Okay, John and I can make that happen. I kind of want to rewind a little bit. I know we're kind of jumping all over the place, but I want to bring up the fact that I want to talk a little bit about one of our fellow brothers in our local, James, who's a business agent for grocery. He brought up the fact that when he came into this local, the meetings were on Wednesday nights, and when he came in, there was nobody there. And one of the things that Eric did was change the meetings to a Saturday. Okay, and there's again, so count that.
Or take a sip.
Is
what we're getting.
That it's not just about UPS, brothers and sisters, okay? All of you that are listening out of Laguna and Anaheim, there's more to our local than 952
than UPS.
Than UPS,
yeah.
Right? We have CVS, we have Albertsons, we have Transit, we have OCTA.
Linen.
Okay? We have Linen.
Yeah.
We have Angel Stadium, okay?
Well, I didn't know that.
Disney.
Okay.
Right?
And tram drivers at Disney.
Right.
Okay.
And some of the things that I appreciate that Eric has brought to the forefront of this is that we have intermingled with other barns out there, other business agents in our local, okay? And we, as UPSers, need to get out of our brown bubble, okay? We really do. We have to understand that we have other brothers and sisters that
They need help.
that need help. I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to be upfront. Like, we as UPSers have the best contract. We have the best pension. We have the best language. Okay. And we vote the least.
Don't fucking vote.
We don't
It's
vote.
ridiculous,
right?
to be honest.
And all, not just the other barns in our local aspire and want what we have as a contract, but we honestly and whole set the standard for the middle class, and that's what's important coming up to this next contract. We need to understand, like John said, we are the only ones pulling away, okay, from the Amazon, the gig jobs, the fast money with no benefits, no pension, none of that shit. Okay, so I hope that anybody listening out there, that you guys understand that there's more to just UPS and this local on 952. Okay, we have James Lopez, who was just, what is his direct? He's been appointed as the
IBT representative for grocery, for warehousemen.
Right?
Yes.
And he said when he came into this local, and I was there on those Wednesday nights where nobody was there. That's something that positive has changed within our local that Eric has implemented here in our local. And it's a huge change. We have more active members now than I've ever seen. Ever. It's the truth. I've seen it. I've been to those Wednesday meetings 15 years ago, and there was nobody there. And what we have now is just involvement like I've never seen. And we need to continue to do that. And these brothers and sisters and the brown side of it need to get out of that bubble. I really do.
I agree.
And just so you guys know, Off the Clock Shop Talk will be, it's not going to just be a UPS show.
We're leaning heavy into it right now, but definitely it's going to be all the facets, right? So
yeah, so we want to make that clear. So as you guys listen and we bring other guests on, that represent, the different barns, like Sawas was saying, the different trades, all that stuff. We plan on doing that.
Why don't we jump into the grievance procedure? Because we all share in all the barns the same grievance, John, that you have there, right?
Yeah.
And let's jump into that. And I think this needs to speak to not just the stewards, but to the membership and how we fill out a grievance and what it entails and what it is for the steward to be successful in the lower level meetings with the manager. And when it doesn't get resolved at that level, what it needs to be for the business agent. Information is key, okay? We need the members and the stewards to understand that this is a legal document. This is what we're going to use to fight the company, whether it's UPS or any other barn. We need information. We need the legwork from you guys to get those things that we need, okay? And I'll let you kind of elaborate on that, John.
That being said, look, so it's going to have your name on here. You're going to put your name, the department you work in, what that would be, as a driver, what center you work in, or what shift or area you work in within, if you're in the part-time ranks. You're going to give, your start time is on there. That's kind of irrelevant, but you'll put your cell phone number where it says home phone, and we are, discussing changing the forms a little bit, but where it says home phone, just go ahead and throw your employee ID in there. Your email, we don't really need your address for sure. Throw your address on there. And that being, the reason we do that is because your cell phone, we need to get a hold of you. If I get this grievance form as a business agent and I want to talk to you, I don't want to have to call the steward and, go around in circles. I just want to be able to look at your phone number, give you a call. If I need to send you some documentation in regard to the grievance or the procedure, I need your address on there. Obviously, the company name, that for us, it would be UPS. Say if you were working for Albertsons, it would say Albertsons or whatever, CVS. The date the grievance occurred. So this is the date you were violated or the date that you found out about the violation. So
Point of knowledge.
called point of knowledge, right? So if you are short on pay, let's say, and you don't discover it for 6 months, obviously we only, per our contract, have 30 days to file a grievance on any violation.
Per the UPS language.
Per the UPS language. That being said, we can always file under point of knowledge. So I didn't know that I was violated until X date. So you would file under point of knowledge. The date filed is the date that you give it to your manager. Your witness, usually, myself as a steward, I would put upon request unless there was actually a direct witness to the violation. And then the steward who's filing for you, because you as a member don't file, a steward needs to file that for you. That's their job. That's what they've signed up to do. So I know within 952, and I will make this clear, within 952, the stewards actually fill out this grievance form. In other locals, it has always been the members. And certain locals do the members, certain locals do the stewards. In ours, it has been the stewards that do the filing and filling out of this form. They really only rely on you for the information to fill it out. That being said, if you do want to get involved and you do want to fill out some of the basic facts of your claim, all your information, that's super helpful. I'm sure as a steward,
It is helpful. Yes, it is helpful.
They don't want to do everything. They're kind of busy too, and they got to go do their route. So as far as the drivers, so that being said, so you're gonna have their name and signature on there. Then you're gonna have the name of the company representative who you're giving the grievance to, and you write their name in there. If they want to sign, fine. They can give a little initial there right next to their name. If they don't, that's fine too. You don't need them to acknowledge receipt of the grievance. You can go ahead and hand it to them, and they can tell you, and I'm sure George has experienced, oh, I don't want this, or this isn't valid. I don't really care. You take the grievance. It's yours now.
Take the grievance. It's yours.
Below that, we have the basic facts, right, where you give basic facts of the grievance. Now, this is the important part, what Sabas was referring to. If we're talking about a harassment, and it's a perceived harassment, right? Most harassment is perceived. If you feel like you're being harassed, then you're probably being harassed, right? But you can go ahead and write a statement on the side, and then you can put on there, harassment, members being harassed by X person, and then give the facts in your statement. Now, if it's a seniority violation or a pay violation, then we need facts and names and times. If it's a supervisor working, who was working, what area they were working in. So you want to ask yourself who, what, when, where, why. All the questions, right? Who violated? If it's a seniority thing, you want to go, well, my seniority was violated by this person, actually by the company, utilizing this person.
Yeah, not the member, because we don't go against our members.
Just so you guys know, we don't file grievances against members. In fact, you should never bring reproach on another member,
Correct.
Period.
Yeah.
So if you are filing against a member, rethink the way you're filing that, because the company does the violation, and the member is just, utilized in that way, whatever that may be, whether it's seniority violation for extra work, or for, they called them to go driving first, or whatever it may be. The company's doing the violating, the member is just, used in that way. And then a remedy. So remedy, your stewards are really going to know how to word the remedy. If it's a make whole remedy, if it's some sort of violation where they need to pay you or whatever, then they're going to make whole in every way, and then kind of give what they want them to pay you, and then you're done. You sign off under member, and that's all you got to do. And then you give it to the steward will file it. He'll give the company a copy, me a copy, and he'll keep a copy for himself. If you want to take a picture of that, I would recommend that. Go ahead and take a picture of the grievance before he files it, and then we can go from there. But that's the grievance procedure, right? As far as you as a member have to deal with. After that, let it go through its process, which we discussed earlier in the show, and it goes from there.
So just going back, touch base on what you were talking about, John, and the grievance procedure. I don't know if you said this or not, but the Article 37s I kind of want to address.
Yeah.
When you make a
So
statement,
just so you know, Article 37s we're referring to the harassment portion.
Correct.
Article 37 is huge, is you're going to have 9.5 language, all kinds of stuff.
Right.
But I believe we're referring to the harassment.
harassment part, yes. So in the grievance, when you write it, you get with your steward. Okay, I need you guys to write a statement on what transpired and occurred that day, but you do not turn that in and staple that statement to the grievance. We do not want the company to have that statement because I don't want them to pick apart your statement and have time to address your issues that you have. So you keep that statement aside, you pull it aside, and you see it's attached statement, okay? But you don't turn that in with the grievance. The second thing I want to address is going, and we've been having a problem with this, John and George, with the part-timers. Guys that are getting hurt, okay, on the job. You ask for a steward, okay, when you're going to file. If they pull you, let me correct myself. When they pull you in and you want to report an injury, you have a steward present at all times. The reason being is what's going on right now is that they're giving discipline, okay, to the members that are reporting injuries when contractually you cannot
Can't do that.
You cannot do that. So any of you,
And for the state.
per the state, any of you out there, whether it's part-time or full-time, if you're going to report an injury, you have a steward present. You have a right to that. Okay. You file that, or you go to the manager, you make a claim, you say you've been hurt on the job. Okay. If they send any discipline to you, you have the steward file on that, because you cannot be disciplined for filing an injury. So I want to make that very clear. All the part-timers out there, it's been happening more, I think, more than the full-time. You guys grab a steward when you go to report an injury. You have a witness. You have your steward present with you. If they tell you, we don't need a steward here, you say, I want to exercise my wine garden rights, and you don't say anything until the steward is present. There's another Anyways,
Take a sip.
so this coming Tuesday, we have our Teamster Tuesday for the preload in Laguna, and then we will have John. I will be passing out the wine garden rights for you guys. Please read it. Understand what it means, that you have a right to have union representation always. Okay? Please understand that. And it's going to be my job and John's job to inform you that you have a right under the collective bargaining agreement to have a steward present.
So file the grievance, and, not that we're grievance happy, but to be honest, I came into a building with, let's talk about culture again, right? I came into a building where a lot of members would tell me, oh, I don't want to file a grievance because this is the way we fix things. This is the proper channels to go through.
It's our recourse, John.
Yeah, it is.
It's a recourse. And I feel like a lot of drivers don't want to file, because we're going to obviously touch back on this. A lot of drivers don't want to file for fear of retaliation.
Correct.
So, and that's kind of been a big issue in my center. That's why my center does not file a lot of grievances for the fear of that. So I have only worked at my center for like 8.5 years. So I didn't know what the culture was like before that. And then nobody files grievances there. They don't file a lot of grievances. And I think it's because there was a lot of retaliation before. I know there's a few drivers in particular, I won't name them, but just they won't file because they don't want retaliation. So I feel like if you need to understand that, like, we need to file on all forms of harassment, retaliation, all that stuff, because it's in the contract that, like, the company cannot be harassing you or retaliating for basically your rights, right? Those are our rights. It's our right to file on things, and they can't be harassing and retaliating. So you have a right to grieve that.
Correct. And getting to that, going back to the grievance procedure in whole, I need the membership to know when you do file that grievance what the remedy is in a first, second, and third scenario of filing Article 37. Okay, it's a paper trail. It's the same way the company documents all of us. Okay, okay, and
Start a case.
you start a case.
Start a case.
So when members file a grievance, and rightfully so, they're being harassed. Okay. You're not going to get a remedy of getting the manager fired. You're not going to get a remedy of the supervisor being removed or fired. It's building a case. It's like in court, like going back to what I said. You file the grievance. We sit on that grievance, okay? The best remedy that we're going to get on those first ones are to treat the member with dignity and respect, okay?
It's acknowledgement of the violation.
Correct,
Right?
yes.
They are acknowledging that they have violated, and
Our
that's what we
rights.
want. We want that acknowledgement of the violation, and then we move on, right? We build that case, like Savas is saying. We, just like they do with our Pittsburghs, right?
Yes,
or whatever.
our attendance.
They your
Yes.
attendance or anything. Honestly, say you get a warning letter for unprofessionalism or whatever. That is their warning letter. We are putting them on notice. Look, we've noticed you violated. The best we're going to get in the beginning, like Sawa said, is as an acknowledgement of that violation.
Correct.
And then as we move forward, there's language in there that if the harassments continue after 3, then we can take them to a panel system where there could possibly, and I'm not saying that it's guaranteed, but there could possibly be monetary penalties levied at that point.
And with that, though, we need every detail. We need all the facts and situations that have happened within that. It's like the DA's office. They're not going to press charges if they don't have a strong case. We need the membership to understand in order to build that case, it starts with you.
Mm-hmm.
It starts with you. Documentation is key. I had a older driver, and I'm going to say his name, Al Talavera. He was the first driver that when I came into Stadium Center that said, Savas, you document everything the same way the company documents you.
100%. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So what he taught me was I would carry a notepad, and this was before I even became a steward. I would carry a notepad in my pocket, and with the pen. And anytime I had any discussion with management or supervisor, I wrote it down.
Okay.
I'll share what I think is a funny story.
Funny story time.
Oh yeah, funny story time. So later on, as that progressed, I would write down every day, my WOR, my stops per hour, how many hours I was out there, what time I got there, everything. I would document it. As a steward, as you know, George, you put a target on your back, right? Because
You do.
You're representing the membership, right?
Yeah.
So I remember this day, we had a new manager, a new supervisor come in, and they're coming in gung ho. We're gonna get the stewards, right? So I have the supervisor come up to me and he says, "Hey, so you're porous, right? And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Come over here. I want to talk to you." And I said, "Well, okay. What do you want to talk to?" "Well, come over here." I said, "Okay." So as I'm walking towards him, I pull up my pen and paper, and I said, "Okay, what do you need to talk to me about?" He says, "Well, you don't have to write down what we're going to talk about." I said, "Okay, well, let me write that down." That you said I don't have to write down what we're talking about. Okay. Guess what happened? He walked away from me. And what I'm trying to tell you, brothers and sisters, whether it's part-time or full-time, you do that and you show the company that you are on track with your attendance, your call tags, your calling ins, and you have that documented the same way the company does it, you're protecting yourself.
You're protecting yourself.
And I will go back to what I said. Al Talavera, he showed me this. It's very important. I know it's a little bit more work, but if you do that, you are protecting yourself. I've had members come to me and tell me, well, what does the union do for us? I tell them, well, you are the union. What are you doing for yourself? Because I can't be there every day. John can't be there every day. George, as a steward, can't be there every day. So how do you protect yourself? The one and only person that's going to protect themselves is yourself. Start documenting everything. That is my suggestion to you, brothers and sisters, is to document. Because the company documents it. John touched on this on Tuesday in
They document everything.
Teamster Tuesday. You know what, George? You know what they are doing now? They're putting all of the drivers into this formula.
Algorithm.
Right?
Yeah, the algorithm.
Right?
Yeah.
A third party that says whether you've had injuries in the part-time or accidents or
Your
whatever,
attendance.
your attendance, possibly even
To try and predict everything.
even your FICA score.
Yeah, we've
Okay.
heard some reports.
That is
for sure.
fucking. That's nerve wracking.
Okay,
So
so-
the FICA score. It's like, why does that
Right.
have? Why does that have any relevancy towards me driving?
Correct. And not only that, okay, our local was one of the first that the company implemented the cameras. And that's a whole other thing that we can get into. But what I'm trying to tell you guys is that the company is watching. Protect yourselves, document everything, carry that notepad around. When they see that you document everything, I promise you that they will see that you are protecting yourself, because we can't be there all the time as a shop steward. We can't be there always as a business agent. And we can't always be there as the executive board, okay? It's imperative that you guys understand and know your rights, for one. And then protect yourself first and foremost.
You definitely want to document everything, because that's all they do. All
Right.
they do is document everything you're doing, everything you're going to do. And I know a lot of drivers that's part of the reason they don't do anything is because like they're the fear of the documentation, the fear of the retaliation, all of that stuff. You know, and that's why we need people to file. And if you do not file, you cannot start a case. So it's like, let's say they've been harassing you for, I don't know, like say a year, and you finally say, fuck that, I'm going to finally put a file in now. All that stuff a year ago is like, all that's gone.
Right, it's
But
gone.
now the occurrence doesn't happen till now.
And
But they've been harassing you for a year.
And that buildup, George, right? What does our membership think, that we can just come in there and put the hammer down on them,
Yeah.
right? With that one grievance, because all that stuff is gone because they didn't document it.
You didn't document it. Yeah.
So it's important that they document it.
It's like you said, it's imperative that they didn't document it. We need all that to happen immediately. Don't sit on it. Don't be afraid of retaliation. Just file.
Yeah.
And that being said, you know, in documenting everything and just kind of keeping track, I've always looked at it, and I don't know how you guys look at it, but I've always looked at it that I want to take all of the company's ammo for disciplining or for harassing me. I want to take it all away, right? So I made sure that the things I could control, which now I'm not referring to their numbers and all that BS, but what I am referring to is like being late, calling in all the time, right? You know, as a Teamster, and this is something that, you know, I kind of not learned, but refreshed my memory on as, you know, we did the history lesson, the Teamster history lesson, is that we've always been, you know, a group of guys and gals that really took pride in their work, right? And I know we touched on this a little bit the last show, but just took pride in showing up and doing our job and doing it well. And
We're
those
the
are
labor
things
movement, John.
We are, you know, we're laborers. That's what we do. But we want to be compensated, you know, fairly. But that being said, we want to take all management's ammo away. We don't want to be showing up late all the time,
Right.
fucking off. You know what I mean? Doing those things that would allow the company to fire us.
That hurts the case.
Yeah. So that being said, and I'm not here to talk your ear off about it. I'm going to defend everybody either way. At the end of the day, I just always looked at it like, look, I don't want management to have shit on me.
Just give them less ammo.
And the less ammo they have and the more you have with all your documentation, like we were talking about, that just makes it a better case for all of us. For me, putting the case on, for you as a member, it just makes it for a better case.
And going forward, I just want, and John and George, I think we need to bring in rank and file membership in here, our stewards, members, to give their perspective on things, what goes on a daily basis in the hub, right? Because we're not always there.
We're not always there.
Do that. And I think that is going to be part of what we describe as transparency, right? We're not here to bash anybody. We're here to make our membership understand what's going on and how we deal with things.
Encourage, all that stuff.
Yeah, because our fight is not with our other brothers and sisters that maybe don't agree with this administration. Our fight is with the company, okay? The members will speak, and whoever's in office, I will continue to do what I can to better the membership and inform our Teamsters brothers and sisters. I promise you that. I just want to say, that when John and George came up with this, idea to do this podcast, it was to inform, and this is what our goal is here, okay, is to inform, to empower our brothers and sisters to understand our contract, to understand what it is and why we pay union dues, what it means to be a Teamster brother and sister. And as long as that format continues, I will always be here because it's important. I believe in the union. I started off in the grocery union with Albertsons, okay? Back in 1990, I started, okay? And then I came over to UPS. We are the last...
You're old.
Thank you.
Christ.
But I look good for my age. But anyway.
He does.
Yeah.
There's no gray in that.
Yeah. So going back to what it means to be a union member, to be part of something that's bigger than ourselves, okay? And it is all of our responsibility. And I think with George and John and myself and every brother and sister that's come on the show is to educate, to show the membership that you can make a life in a last blue-collar job. There's not blue-collar jobs out there no more, brothers and sisters. You need to understand that.
Not middle-class ones.
Yeah.
There's no more of that. We are the last. We are the ones that are pulling away, okay? Like I said earlier in the podcast, it's middle class, okay? We have something, and we need to continue the fight for the labor movement. And it's not just about UPS, okay? It's every union out there. Every union out there. Not just our Teamsters brothers and sisters, but every fucking union that's out there.
Yeah. Every facet.
Every facet of the union. And that's all I got to say. I appreciate you guys bringing me on. I'm sorry I wasn't as funny as that I should be because you hired me to be comic relief.
You're killing me, Smalls.
Yeah, but I appreciate it, and I want to extend the invitation to our brothers and sisters, our rank and file, even, and I'm sure you guys are on board with this, the opposition right now. I invite them to come here and have a conversation.
I have already made a suggestion for that, so we're just waiting to make
back.
Yeah, and that is what needs to be done because we can have differences of opinions, but at the end of the day,
we're all Teamsters.
We're all Teamsters, okay?
Yeah.
And just along that vein, and in closing, we'll say for myself and all of us here at OCST, we want to see that culture change. We definitely, we touched on it earlier. We want to see a more informed, more active 952. That's what we want to see. So as we do these things to change the culture and to get people involved, we ask that you, as the membership, you would get involved, that you would come to the Teamster Tuesdays, that you would, come to the softball games and the picnics, as, the administration, as Eric Jimenez puts those things on. Get involved. This is, it's crazy, but this is bigger than you. This is about the new generation having this middle-class job, as Sawa said, to go on, for your children and for yourself, for the longevity of things. So I just ask myself, coming from all of us, that we all get involved. That's all.
Enjoy your weekend, you guys. I hope that this resonates with you somehow, some way, and get involved. And we'll continue to be here and continue this podcast. I appreciate you guys' time.
Thank you. Thank you. And with that being said, this has been Off the Clock Shop Talk. You can email us at OCST.000@gmail. Please leave a comment, like, subscribe, maybe throw in the comments what you think about, Article 37 or filing grievances or just anything in general. Just let us know.
Ideas that you guys have for the show, we're open.
Hit us up. We're open. And with that being said, you have a great weekend. We'll see you next time.
Later, guys.